My name is Russell, and I'm 35 years old. The love I have for my 8-year-old daughter Lily is unconditional, which is why I've been carefully saving for her college fund since she was born. My mother Patricia has always had a controlling attitude about money, manipulating it like puppet strings. I never thought she'd try to take Lily's future away at her own birthday party. Before I tell you the story of how I protected my daughter's future, let me know where you're watching from, and hit that like button if you believe family boundaries are sometimes necessary for everyone's well-being. Growing up with my mother Patricia shaped my entire outlook on family dynamics and finances. She was the epitome of control, using money as leverage to get her way in almost every situation. My father passed away when I was 12, leaving behind a substantial life insurance policy that should have secured our future. Instead, it became my mother's tool for manipulation. After Dad died, Mom changed. The grief transformed her, but not in ways that brought us closer as a family. She became obsessed with controlling every aspect of our lives, particularly anything related to finances. Every purchase needed her approval. Every dollar we earned as teenagers working part-time jobs had to be reported. She kept detailed ledgers of what she claimed we owed her for basic necessities. My sister Angela, 2 years younger than me, always received preferential treatment. While I was expected to contribute to household expenses from my first job at 16, Angela was given money freely. Mom would justify this by saying, "Your sister needs more help than you do. You're stronger, more capable." These words created a divide between us that would only widen with time. The most painful memory from my youth was when I received a partial scholarship to attend college. I had been saving diligently through high school, working evenings and weekends to build my education fund. 2 months before tuition was due, Mom informed me she had invested my college savings. "It's for your own good, Russell," she said, avoiding eye contact. "The return will be better than what you would have earned." Those funds never materialized. I later discovered she had used the money to renovate the house and take a vacation with Angela. When confronted, she became defensive, insisting that improving our living conditions was more important than wasting money on some fancy degree. I ended up working 3 jobs while studying full-time to cover my expenses, often sleeping only 4 hours a night. Despite these challenges, I graduated with a business degree and secured a stable position at a marketing firm. During my senior year, I met Hannah at a campus event. She was studying education and had a warmth about her that immediately drew me in. We dated throughout my final year and got married 2 years after graduation. When Hannah and I announced our engagement, Mom's first question wasn't about our happiness or future plans. She asked, "How much is that ring worth?" You know that money could have gone toward a house down payment. That moment solidified my understanding that Mom would never change her perspective on money as a control mechanism. After marriage, my relationship with Mom improved slightly, mainly because distance created natural boundaries. Hannah and I moved to a different city for work opportunities, limiting our in-person interactions to holidays and occasional weekend visits. However, the financial tension remained beneath the surface. Every time we purchased something significant, Mom would find ways to criticize our choices. When we bought our first home, she spent hours pointing out perceived flaws and questioned whether we had gotten a good deal. When Hannah bought a new car after her old one broke down, Mom demanded to see the financing paperwork to make sure we weren't being taken advantage of. Despite all this, I still wanted Mom in our lives. I believed people could change, and perhaps with time and patience, she would learn to respect our autonomy. I maintained a relationship with her while establishing firmer boundaries, hoping that eventually she would recognize our right to make our own financial decisions without her interference. My experiences growing up had taught me valuable lessons about financial independence and the importance of setting boundaries. These lessons would become even more crucial after Hannah and I welcomed our daughter into the world, and I vowed that history would not repeat itself with the next generation. Lily came into our world on a crisp autumn morning, 8 years ago, forever changing our lives. From the moment the nurse placed her in my arms, I made a silent promise that she would never experience the financial manipulation I had endured growing up. She had my eyes and Hannah's smile, a perfect combination of both of us. As she grew, Lily revealed herself to be remarkably intelligent and perpetually cheerful. She learned to read before kindergarten and developed an intense curiosity about the world around her. By age 8, she had amassed a collection of books about space, animals, and history that threatened to overwhelm her bookshelf. Her laughter was contagious, brightening even the most difficult days with its pure, unbridled joy. "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor and an astronaut and maybe also write books," she told me one evening as I tucked her into bed. "Is that too many things?" "Not at all, sweetheart," I replied, my heart swelling with pride. "You can be anything you set your mind to." Behind that promise was a concrete commitment. When Lily was just 3 months old, I opened a college savings account in her name. Every month without fail, a portion of my paycheck went directly into this fund. Some months were tighter than others, especially when Hannah decided to reduce her teaching hours to spend more time with Lily during her early years. There were times we postponed vacations, drove older cars, and lived more frugally than our peers to ensure Lily's future remained secure. By her 8th birthday, through careful investing and consistent contributions, the fund had grown to nearly $50,000. Watching that number increase gave me immense satisfaction, knowing I was breaking the cycle of financial instability that had marked my own childhood. My sister Angela had taken a different path in life. She married Brian shortly after dropping out of community college. Brian was charming and ambitious but lacked follow-through. They jumped from one business venture to another, each ending in financial disappointment. Without fail, after every failed endeavor, they turned to Mom for a bailout. "It's just a loan until we get back on our feet," Angela would say, though not once had they repaid any previous loans. Mom never hesitated to give them money, sometimes withdrawing from her retirement accounts to do so. She would call me afterward, not to ask for contribution, but to inform me of her generosity toward my sister. "Someone has to help them out," she would say pointedly, as if my refusal to fund their latest scheme was a moral failure. Lily only saw her grandmother Patricia a few times each year, usually during holidays or special occasions. These visits were often tense, with Mom making subtle remarks about Lily's future. "She should really be taking piano lessons by now, you know," she said during one visit when Lily was 6. "All the successful children start early. Madison is already quite skilled." Madison was Angela's daughter, just a year older than Lily. "Lily's taking swimming lessons and loving her art class," Hannah replied calmly. "We're following her interests." "Art won't pay the bills," Mom sniffed. "You need to think about her future more practically." These interactions became a pattern. Mom would make comparisons between Lily and Madison, always implying that we weren't making the right choices for our daughter. She questioned our decision to enroll Lily in public school instead of the expensive private academy Madison attended, funded primarily by my mother. She criticized Lily's clothing, her extracurricular activities, and even the books she read. What bothered me most was how Mom would try to speak to Lily privately, making comments that undermined our parenting decisions. Once, I overheard her telling Lily, "Your parents don't understand how important it is to plan for the future. When you're older, you can come live with Grandma, and I'll make sure you get the opportunities they're not giving you." That evening, I established a clear boundary with Mom. "Please don't make promises to Lily or criticize our parenting decisions to her," I said firmly. "If you have concerns, bring them to us privately." She dismissed my request with a wave of her hand. "I'm just being a grandmother. You're too sensitive." Despite these challenges, we maintained a relationship with Mom for Lily's sake. I wanted her to know her grandmother, even with the complicated dynamics at play. I believed I could manage the situation by setting boundaries and limiting Mom's influence. In retrospect, I underestimated how far she would go to maintain control over our family's finances, particularly when it came to Lily's future. The trouble began on an ordinary Tuesday evening. I was helping Lily with her science homework when my phone rang. Seeing Angela's name on the screen, I almost declined the call. Our conversations lately had become predictable, small talk followed by requests for money. Still, she was my sister, and I answered. "Russell, I need your help," Angela said, her voice strained. "Brian and I are in serious trouble." I sighed, excusing myself from the table and stepping into the hallway. "What's going on?" We invested in a restaurant franchise. The owner promised it was a sure thing, but he took our money and disappeared. She paused for dramatic effect. We're $45,000 in debt, and the bank is threatening to foreclose on our house. The amount struck me immediately. It was almost exactly what we had saved for Lily's education. Angela, I'm sorry that happened, but I can't help financially. We're committed to Lily's future. It's not fair. Her voice rose. You have a stable job and savings. We have nothing. What about family, helping family? I've offered to help you build a budget and find financial counseling, I reminded her. We don't need a lecture. We need money. Angela was shouting now. If you won't help, I'll talk to Mom. She at least understands family loyalty. After the call ended, I sat on the edge of our bed, my stomach in knots. Angela involving Mom was concerning. Throughout our adult lives, Mom had consistently taken Angela's side in every conflict, regardless of the circumstances. 2 days later, Mom called. Her voice was eerily calm, which I recognized from childhood as a dangerous sign. Russell, I've been thinking about Lily's college fund, she began without preamble. She's only 8. That money could be put to better use now, helping your sister through this difficult time. I gripped the phone tighter. Mom, that money is for Lily's future. It's non-negotiable. Don't be selfish, she replied sharply. Angela needs help now. Lily won't attend college for another decade. You can save more by then. The answer is no. We've worked hard to save that money for our daughter. Mom's tone hardened. You seem to forget that I'm still a signatory on that account. I helped you set it up, remember? If you won't be reasonable, I might need to take matters into my own hands. The threat hung in the air between us. When Lily was born, Mom had insisted on being present when we opened the college fund. At the time, I thought it was just her wanting to be involved in her granddaughter's life. I had allowed her to be added as a signatory, a decision I now deeply regretted. Are you threatening to take money that belongs to your granddaughter? I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. I'm talking about helping family in need. Something you clearly don't understand. She hung up before I could respond. That night, I explained the situation to Hannah. Her face paled as she realized the implications. She wouldn't really take Lily's money, would she? Hannah asked, but her expression showed she already knew the answer. We need to move the funds immediately, I said. First thing tomorrow, I'm going to the bank. The next morning, I took a rare day off work and visited our bank as soon as it opened. The process was more complicated than I anticipated, involving multiple forms and verification steps. I couldn't simply remove Mom as a signatory. I had to close the account entirely and open a new one in Lily's name with only Hannah and me as custodians. This is unusual, the bank manager commented as she processed the paperwork. The account has been well maintained for years. I gave a vague explanation about updating our financial arrangements, unwilling to share the family drama with a stranger. By noon, the transfer was complete. The new account had additional security measures, including notifications for any withdrawal attempts and no physical branch access without both Hannah's and my approval. Driving home, I felt conflicted. On one hand, I experienced tremendous guilt about taking such drastic measures against my own mother. On the other, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief knowing Lily's future was now secure from interference. Later that week, we received an invitation to Lily's birthday party in the mail. Mom had never formally requested an invitation before, but I recognized her handwriting immediately. The card was addressed specifically to Lily, with a note inside. Dearest Lily, Grandma can't wait to celebrate your special day with a very special surprise. Love always, Grandma Patricia. I showed the card to Hannah, who frowned. What do you think she's planning? I don't know, I admitted, but I don't like it. Despite our misgivings, we couldn't exclude Mom from Lily's birthday. Whatever issues existed between adults, I didn't want to deprive Lily of her grandmother's presence. We decided to proceed with the party as planned, but remained vigilant about what this special surprise might entail. Lily's 8th birthday party transformed our backyard into an enchanted forest, complete with fairy lights strung between trees and colorful streamers dancing in the gentle breeze. Hannah had spent weeks planning every detail, from the woodland creature decorations to the three-tiered cake topped with edible flowers. Lily wore her favorite purple dress and a paper crown decorated by her best friend Zoe. By 3 o'clock that Saturday afternoon, our home buzzed with the energy of 8 excited children and their parents. Lily darted between guests, her face glowing with happiness as she accepted birthday wishes and guided friends to the activity stations Hannah had set up. "Dad, come see what Jake brought me," Lily called, pulling me toward a table piled with colorfully wrapped gifts. I knelt beside her, sharing in her excitement while keeping one eye on the driveway, watching for Mom's arrival. She was already 30 minutes late, which was unusual for her typically punctual nature. At 3:30, Mom's silver sedan pulled into our driveway. Angela emerged from the passenger side, followed by Brian and their daughter Madison. I hadn't expected them all to attend, as they hadn't RSVP'd, but I greeted them politely at the door. Mom barely acknowledged me, brushing past to find Lily. Angela avoided eye contact, while Brian seemed uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot in the entryway. "Grandma," Lily exclaimed, running to embrace Mom. "I thought you weren't coming. And miss my favorite granddaughter's birthday? Never." Mom handed Lily a small, exquisitely wrapped package topped with an oversized bow, along with an envelope that I assumed contained money or a gift card. Throughout the next hour, I observed Mom and Angela having multiple hushed conversations in corners of our yard, their expressions serious despite the festive atmosphere. Whenever I approached, they would abruptly change the subject or separate. The tension was palpable, but I was determined not to let it affect Lily's special day. After outdoor games and pizza, Hannah announced it was time for Lily to open her gifts. Friends and family gathered around the picnic table as Lily began unwrapping presents with methodical care, thanking each person before moving to the next gift. "This one's from Zoe," Lily announced, carefully untying the ribbon on a box that contained a science kit for growing crystals. "Thank you. I can't wait to try this," she continued through the pile. Books, art supplies, a telescope from Hannah and me that elicited a squeal of delight, and various toys from friends. Mom's gift turned out to be a delicate silver bracelet that looked surprisingly expensive. "It's beautiful, Grandma," Lily said, allowing Mom to fasten it around her wrist. "Thank you." The envelope contained a birthday card with $50 tucked inside. Nothing seemed amiss, and I began to think my concerns had been overblown. After presents, Hannah brought out the cake, and we all sang happy birthday. As Lily prepared to blow out her candles, Mom stood up and tapped her water glass with a spoon, calling for everyone's attention. "Before we continue celebrating," she announced with an artificial brightness that immediately set off alarm bells in my mind, "I have a special announcement about Lily's future." The yard fell silent. Even the children stopped fidgeting, sensing something important was happening. "As many of you know, Lily has a college fund that her parents and I have been contributing to since she was born," Mom continued, which was an outright lie. She had never contributed a cent. "Today, I want to announce that those funds will be redirected to help Aunt Angela and Uncle Brian through a difficult financial period." Gasps and uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the guests. Lily looked confused, her cake momentarily forgotten. Hannah grabbed my hand under the table, her fingers digging into my palm. "This is what family does," Mom declared, smiling at Angela. "We help each other in times of need. Lily is young and has many years ahead to save for college, but her aunt needs help now." The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel every eye in the yard shifting between Mom and me, waiting for my response. Lily's lower lip trembled as she looked to me for explanation. With deliberate calm, I stood up, placed my napkin on the table, and addressed Mom directly. "You mean the account I closed last month?" The color drained from Mom's face. She fumbled in her purse for her phone, presumably to check the account status immediately. Her fingers trembled as she navigated the banking app. "What have you done?" she hissed, all pretense of celebration abandoned. "Protected my daughter's future," I replied evenly. "The money has been moved to a new account that only Hannah and I can access." Mom's face contorted with rage. "You had no right. I'm a signatory on that account." "Which is exactly why I had to close it," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. That money is for Lily's education, not for bailing out Angela and Brian from another failed investment. How dare you? Mom's voice rose to a shout. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By stealing? Children began to cry, including Lily, who buried her face in Hannah's shoulder. Parents shifted uncomfortably, some discreetly gathering their belongings to make a quick exit. Mom, I think you should leave, I said firmly. You've upset the children and ruined Lily's party. This isn't over, she threatened, jabbing a finger in my direction. You'll regret this, Russell. I promise you that. As Mom stormed toward the house, Angela and Brian trailing behind her, I turned to our remaining guests. I apologize for the disruption. Please, let's continue celebrating Lily's special day. But the damage was done. The party atmosphere had evaporated, replaced by awkward tension. Within 30 minutes, most guests had made polite excuses and left. Lily sat at the table, tears streaking her face, her untouched cake a sad reminder of how quickly joy can be shattered. Why is Grandma so mad? She asked in a small voice. Is it because of me? I knelt beside her chair, taking her small hands in mine. No, sweetheart. This has nothing to do with you. Sometimes grown-ups disagree about important things. Your grandmother is upset with me, not with you. As I helped Hannah clean up the abandoned party decorations, I couldn't shake the image of Mom's face, twisted with rage and betrayal. I had never defied her so directly before, and I knew this confrontation was just the beginning of what would likely be a long and painful family conflict. That evening, after the party debris had been cleared away and Lily was finally asleep, Hannah and I sat at our kitchen table, emotionally exhausted from the day's events. The house felt unnaturally quiet after the chaos. We need to explain things to Lily properly, Hannah said, cradling a cup of tea between her palms. She was so confused and upset. I nodded, rubbing my temples where a headache had been building since the confrontation. Tomorrow morning, when she's rested, we'll make her favorite pancakes and talk it through. True to our word, the next morning we created a special breakfast and sat with Lily to have an age-appropriate conversation about what had happened. She pushed blueberries around her plate as we began. Honey, do you remember when we talked about saving money for special things? I asked gently. She nodded. Like how I save my allowance for the big Lego set. Exactly, Hannah said. Dad and I have been saving money for something very special for you too, your college education. That's when you'll be all grown up and can study to become whatever you want to be. Like a doctor or an astronaut? Lily asked, referencing her current career aspirations. Exactly, I smiled. That money is just for you and your future. It's our gift to you. But Grandma wants to give it to Aunt Angela instead, Lily stated with the straightforward logic of children. Grandma believes family should share everything, I explained carefully. And while sharing is important, sometimes we need to protect special things, like your college fund. Is that why you moved the money? She asked, surprising me with her perception. Yes, I admitted. Your future is too important to risk. Lily considered this, then asked the question that broke my heart. Does Grandma love Aunt Angela more than me? No, sweetheart, Hannah interjected. Grandma loves you very much. She just has different ideas about how to help family members. Sometimes grown-ups disagree about these things, like when Zoe and I fought over whose turn it was on the swing. I chuckled despite the situation. Something like that, but more complicated. The important thing is that Mom and I will always protect your future. That's our job as your parents. Lily seemed satisfied with this explanation, at least for the moment, and the conversation shifted to her plans for the day. But our family drama was just beginning. By noon, my phone was buzzing constantly with calls and texts from Mom. I finally read one. You've betrayed this family. That money was meant to help all of us. I have called my bank and they confirm you stole the money from the account. I will be consulting a lawyer about this theft. You've always been selfish, Russell, but I never thought you would stoop this low. I showed the message to Hannah, who urged me to block Mom's number temporarily. You need some space to process this. She's trying to manipulate you with guilt. Later that afternoon, Angela called. I almost didn't answer, but decided facing this directly was better than avoidance. "How could you do this to me?" she sobbed into the phone. "We're about to lose everything, and you're sitting on a pile of money that could save us." "That money is for Lily's future," I repeated for what felt like the 100th time. "I've offered to help you create a budget and financial plan, but you've refused." "A budget won't pay off $45,000 of debt," she cried. "The bank gave us 30 days before they start foreclosure. Mom was our last hope, and you ruined it." "Angela, this pattern can't continue. Brian has had 4 sure-thing investments fail in the past 3 years. At some point, you both need to take responsibility for your financial decisions. You're destroying our lives," she said bitterly before hanging up. Over the next few days, the situation escalated. Extended family members began calling, some supportive of my decision, others critical. Apparently, Mom had been busy sharing her version of events with anyone who would listen. "Your mother says you stole money from her," my cousin Thomas said when he called. "Is that true?" "No," I explained wearily. "I moved Lily's college fund to an account where it would be secure. Mom was threatening to take it." Thomas paused. "That sounds like Aunt Patricia. She tried to get my mom to loan her money from my grandmother's estate years ago, said it was for family emergencies. Mom refused, and they didn't speak for years." These revelations were both validating and disturbing. I began to realize that Mom's financial manipulation extended far beyond my immediate experience. The most surprising call came from my mother's sister, Martha, with whom we rarely spoke. After my father died, she and Mom had a falling out that was never fully explained to us children. "Russell, I heard what happened from your cousin Thomas," she began. "I want you to know that you did the right thing protecting your daughter's future." "Thank you, Aunt Martha," I said, genuinely moved by her support. "It's been a difficult week." "Your mother did the same thing to me 20 years ago," she continued, her voice heavy with old pain. "After your father passed, he left a separate insurance policy naming me as beneficiary to repay a loan I'd given them for their first house. Patricia contested it, claiming she needed it more as a widow with children. When that didn't work legally, she took the money from our mother's account where I'd temporarily deposited it while sorting out the estate." I was stunned into silence. This revelation painted my mother's actions in an even more troubling light. "There's something else you should know," Martha continued. "Your mother has a gambling problem. Has for years. It started after your father died, a way to cope with the grief, I think, but it spiraled. I suspect that's where a lot of the money has gone over the years, including what she's given Angela." The pieces suddenly fit together: Mom's secrecy about finances, the unexplained disappearances of funds, her intense emotional reactions to any perceived financial slight. While this new information helped me understand her behavior, it didn't excuse it. "I had no idea," I admitted. "She's very good at hiding it," Martha sighed. "I tried to get her help years ago. That's why we stopped speaking. Just be careful, Russell. When it comes to money, my sister can be ruthless. What she did at Lily's party is just the beginning." After hanging up, I felt both relieved to have confirmation that I wasn't overreacting and heartbroken to learn more about my mother's troubles. The gambling addiction explained so much, including perhaps her enabling of Angela's financial irresponsibility. It mirrored her own. That night, I shared everything with Hannah, who listened with growing concern. "If your mom really does have a gambling addiction, she needs help, not access to more money," she said finally. Maybe this confrontation needed to happen. I nodded slowly. "Maybe, but I'm worried about what she'll do next." Aunt Martha made it sound like Mom won't back down easily. Hannah squeezed my hand. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together. For Lily." A month after the birthday party disaster, life had begun to settle into an uneasy new normal. Mom had stopped calling after I blocked her number, though she occasionally sent handwritten letters filled with guilt-inducing language that I chose not to respond to. Angela had also gone silent after our last conversation. Hannah and I were just beginning to relax when the doorbell rang one Saturday morning. I opened the door to find Mom standing on our porch, her expression a careful mask of composure. Her hair was perfectly styled, her clothes immaculate as always, giving no outward sign of the turmoil she had created. "We need to talk," she said, not waiting for an invitation before stepping past me into the entryway. "Mom, this isn't a good time," I said, though in truth there would never be a good time for this conversation. "Where's Lily?" she asked, glancing around as if expecting to find her granddaughter hiding nearby. "She's at a friend's house for a playdate," Hannah replied, emerging from the kitchen with arms crossed defensively across her chest. "Good. This isn't a conversation for children." Mom set her purse down on our coffee table and took a seat on the sofa as if this were a normal social call. "I've come to discuss the college fund." I remained standing, unwilling to play along with her pretense of civility. "There's nothing to discuss. The money is secure in an account for Lily's future education." "You had no right to move that money," Mom said, her voice hardening. "I was a signatory on that account, which you threatened to empty for Angela's benefit," I reminded her. "What did you expect me to do?" Mom's composure slipped momentarily, revealing the anger beneath. "I expected you to behave like family. Angela and Brian are about to lose their home because you're hoarding money that won't be needed for a decade." "That's not how saving for college works," Hannah interjected. "The account grows over time. Taking it now would rob Lily of years of compound interest." Mom dismissed Hannah's comment with a wave of her hand. "There are other ways to pay for college. Loans, scholarships. Angela needs help now." "And what about the next time she needs help?" I asked. "Or the time after that? This pattern has to stop." "You've always been jealous of your sister," Mom accused, changing tactics. "You resent that I've helped her more than you." "This isn't about jealousy," I said firmly. "It's about protecting my daughter's future and establishing healthy boundaries." Mom's expression darkened. "Boundaries? Is that what your therapist told you to say?" Her tone dripped with contempt. "Let me tell you something about boundaries, Russell. Family doesn't have boundaries. Family helps each other, no matter what. Even if it means stealing from your granddaughter's future?" Hannah challenged. "It's not stealing if it stays in the family." Mom's voice rose. "And if you won't reconsider, I'll have no choice but to tell Lily the truth." I tensed. "What truth?" "That her parents care more about money than helping family. That they would let her aunt lose her home rather than share resources." Mom's threat hung in the air between us. "How do you think Lily will feel knowing you chose money over family?" The manipulation was so transparent, yet I felt the familiar guilt rising within me. Mom had always been skilled at turning situations around, making her demands seem reasonable and my resistance selfish. "You will not speak to Lily about this," I said, my voice low but firm. "This is between adults. She deserves to know what kind of parents she has," Mom insisted. "Mom, I'm asking you to leave," I said, struggling to maintain my composure. "This conversation is over." "It's far from over," she retorted, remaining seated. "I'm not leaving until you agree to transfer the money to help your sister." Hannah quietly stepped out of the room, and I heard her murmuring into the phone in the kitchen. Mom continued her tirade, listing all the ways I had supposedly failed as a son and brother, how my selfishness was destroying the family, how my father would be ashamed of me. 20 minutes later, there was another knock at the door. Hannah opened it to reveal 2 police officers. "We received a call about an unwanted guest refusing to leave," one officer explained. Mom's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "You called the police on your own mother?" "We asked you to leave multiple times," Hannah said calmly. "You refused." The officers were professional and courteous, explaining to Mom that she needed to depart the premises as requested by the homeowners. She gathered her purse with trembling hands, her face a mask of fury. "This is how you treat family," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "I will never forgive this betrayal, Russell. Never." As the police escorted her to her car, I felt a complex mixture of relief, guilt, and sadness. I had never imagined our family conflict would escalate to this point. After the officers left, Hannah held me as I processed what had just happened. "Did we do the right thing?" I asked, doubt creeping into my voice. "Yes," she said firmly. "We're protecting our daughter and our family. Your mom needs to understand that her behavior has consequences." 2 weeks later, we received a certified letter from a lawyer representing my mother. The letter claimed I had fraudulently removed funds from an account where she was a legal signatory and demanded the return of the money or threatened legal action. I immediately contacted a lawyer of my own, who reviewed the documentation from the original account and the new one. "Your mother doesn't have a case," he assured me after examining everything. "As Lily's parent, you had every right to move those funds to another custodial account. Your mother's status as a secondary signatory didn't give her ownership rights to the money." The lawyer suggested sending a formal response through legal channels, but I decided to try one more personal approach first. That evening, I sat down and wrote a lengthy letter to my mother, pouring out years of pent-up feelings about her financial manipulation. I described how it felt when she took my college savings, forcing me to work multiple jobs while studying. I explained the pain of watching her repeatedly bail out Angela while criticizing my financial decisions. I detailed the careful planning and sacrifices Hannah and I had made to build Lily's college fund. "Mom," I wrote toward the end, "I understand now that your relationship with money is complicated and perhaps driven by issues I don't fully comprehend. Aunt Martha told me about the gambling, and while that helps me understand your behavior, it doesn't excuse it. I want you in our lives, but not if it means putting Lily's future at risk. I hope someday you'll understand that my boundary isn't rejection, it's protection, both for my daughter and for our relationship." I mailed the letter the next day, unsure if it would make any difference, but feeling lighter for having expressed these long-buried truths. The lawyer's formal response went out the following week, and we waited for the next move in this painful family chess match. 3 months passed with no word from my mother. The certified letter from her lawyer was never followed up with actual legal action, suggesting my attorney's assessment had been correct. She had no legal grounds to claim the money. Still, the silence was both a relief and a source of sadness. Despite everything, she was still my mother, and her absence left a hole in our family fabric. One crisp fall afternoon, I received an unexpected call from Angela. Her name on my caller ID triggered immediate tension, but I answered anyway. "Hi, Russell," she said, her voice lacking its usual demanding edge. "Do you have time to talk? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop halfway between our homes the following day." I arrived early, choosing a quiet corner table where we could speak privately. When Angela walked in, I was struck by how tired she looked, with dark circles under her eyes and her usually perfect hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, sliding into the chair across from me. "I owe you an apology. Of all the ways I had imagined this conversation starting, an apology wasn't one of them." I waited for her to continue. "Brian and I," she hesitated, staring into her coffee cup. "We've been making bad decisions for years. The debt wasn't just from one investment gone wrong. It was credit cards, loans we couldn't afford, living beyond our means." "I suspected as much," I said carefully. "We almost lost the house," she continued. "But instead of taking Mom's money or yours, we finally got real help. We're working with a financial counselor now. We've sold a lot of stuff, downsized to one car. Brian's taken a steady job instead of chasing get-rich-quick schemes." "That's really good to hear, Angela," I said, genuinely pleased by this development. "Mom showed me your letter," she said, looking up to meet my eyes. She was furious at first, but I think it affected her. She's been different lately, quieter. She actually declined when Brian asked to borrow money last month. This news surprised me. "Has she mentioned anything about gambling?" Angela's eyes widened. "Gambling? Mom?" I briefly explained what Aunt Martha had told me. Angela sat back in her chair, visibly processing this new information. "That explains a lot," she finally said. "The mysterious withdrawals from her accounts, times when she was supposedly shopping but came home empty-handed." She shook her head. "I had no idea. I think she needs help," I said gently. "Professional help." Angela nodded slowly. "I'll try to talk to her about it. She's more likely to listen to me than you right now." Before we parted, Angela asked if I would be willing to help her create a realistic budget and financial plan. I agreed, suggesting we meet monthly to review her progress. It was the kind of support I had offered for years, but she had never accepted until now. "I'm not asking for money," she clarified as we walked to our cars. "Just your expertise. You've always been good with finances, even when we were kids." For the first time in years, I felt like I was having a conversation with my sister rather than a perpetual financial crisis. It was tentative progress, but progress nonetheless. Life continued. Lily thrived in school and her various activities. Hannah received a promotion at the elementary school where she taught. My marketing firm took on several new clients, keeping me busier than ever. The wound in our family began to slowly heal, even without direct contact from my mother. Almost a year after the birthday party confrontation, Lily turned 9. We planned a smaller celebration this year, just a few close friends and family at a local bowling alley. I deliberately didn't send an invitation to Mom, assuming she wouldn't want to attend after everything that had happened. To my astonishment, she showed up anyway, carrying a gift wrapped in shimmering paper. She stood uncertainly at the entrance to the bowling alley until Lily spotted her. "Grandma!" Lily called, running over to hug her. Despite everything, children's hearts remain wonderfully open. Mom approached me cautiously after greeting Lily. "I hope it's all right that I came. Angela told me about the party." "It's fine," I said, surprised to find I meant it. "Lily's happy to see you." The party proceeded without incident. Mom was subdued, watching Lily bowl and interact with her friends. She made no grand announcements, no attempts to control or manipulate. When it was time for cake, she sat quietly at the back of the group, clapping along with everyone else as Lily blew out her candles. As guests began to leave, Mom approached me again. "Your letter," she began, then paused, seeming to struggle with what to say next. "I didn't appreciate it at the time, but you were right about some things. It wasn't an apology exactly, but from my mother, it was significant. I meant what I wrote," I said. "I do want you in our lives, just with healthy boundaries." She nodded, the word boundaries no longer triggering immediate rejection. "I'm working on some things, personal things." She didn't elaborate, but I wondered if she had finally sought help for her gambling. "That's good to hear," I said simply. "The college fund," she said after another pause. "It was never about the money itself. It was about control. I see that now." Before I could respond, Lily bounded over, thanking her grandmother for the art supplies she had given her. The moment for deeper conversation passed, but something had shifted between us. A door had opened, just slightly. Over the following months, we began to rebuild our relationship cautiously. Mom joined us for dinner occasionally, never staying too long and careful not to overstep. She never directly apologized for what happened at Lily's 8th birthday, but she demonstrated change through her actions, respecting our parenting decisions, not offering unsolicited financial advice, treating both her granddaughters equally. I began seeing a therapist to work through the complex emotions surrounding my relationship with my mother. Years of financial manipulation had left deep wounds that needed professional help to heal properly. The therapist helped me understand that setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was necessary for healthy relationships. "Your mother used money as a substitute for emotional connection," my therapist explained during one session. "When you removed that lever of control, she had to face the emptiness of the relationship she had created. Slowly, painfully, our family began to heal. Angela and Brian stuck with their financial plan, gradually reducing their debt. Mom joined a support group, though she never explicitly confirmed it was for gambling. I maintained firm boundaries around Lily's college fund, which continued to grow steadily. The most significant change was in my own sense of freedom. For years I had carried guilt about not meeting my mother's expectations, not supporting my sister financially, not being the son and brother they wanted me to be. Setting and maintaining that boundary, protecting Lily's future despite intense pressure, broke that pattern of guilt for the first time. Lily is now 10 years old, still dreaming of becoming a doctor, or an astronaut, or a writer, sometimes all three in the same conversation. She understands money better than I did at her age, asking thoughtful questions about saving, investing, and how her college fund works. Most importantly, she's growing up in a home where financial decisions are made openly and honestly, where money isn't used as a tool for control or manipulation. Last week, she asked me why Grandma used to act differently than she does now. I explained, in age-appropriate terms, that sometimes adults make mistakes and have to learn better ways to show love and support. Like when I got mad at Zoe last year and tried to make her do what I wanted by not sharing my toys, she asked perceptively. Something like that, I smiled. Relationships are complicated, even for grown-ups. I'm glad Grandma figured it out, Lily said simply. I like how she is now. The truth is, I do too. Our relationship will never be perfect, and I remain vigilant about potential backsliding into old patterns. But there's an authenticity to our interactions now that was missing before. By standing firm on that boundary, protecting Lily's future, despite the enormous family pressure, I helped create the possibility for genuinely healthier relationships. Sometimes love means saying no to protect what matters most. Sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are the ones that ultimately save our most important relationships from destructive patterns. Sometimes, true love is the courage to protect a child's future, even when it means facing painful family conflict. By protecting Lily's college fund, I wasn't just securing her educational opportunities. I was teaching her the most valuable lesson about self-respect that I wish I had learned much earlier in life. Love isn't giving away everything you have. Sometimes, it's about saying no to protect what matters most. By protecting Lily's future, I wasn't just protecting my daughter. I was teaching her the most valuable lesson about self-respect that I wish I'd learned sooner. Have you ever had to set a difficult boundary with family to protect something important? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need encouragement to stand firm in protecting what matters most. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most loving thing we can do is set a boundary.